They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be. Like the others, you are strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess? Luck. Was I wrong?
Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today we're taking yet another look at the Master Chief, but this time we're doing it with a slightly more critical eye. In particular, this persistent claim that Chief's most defining character trait is something as esoteric as luck, and it is my belief that luck has absolutely nothing to do with it. So let's figure this out together. Master Chief is one of the most decorated and experienced war veterans of the UNSC, and above all is a Spartan 2 super soldier, trained from 6 years old in the art of war, augmented to superhuman levels of physicality, and given the single most advanced piece of human technology ever constructed. Yet it is iterated over and over again, even by Cortana, an AI bound by logic, that in spite of all of this, it is luck that gets him through the vast majority of the situations he finds himself in. No, it's not. I refuse to believe luck is a factor. That a human being of nearly perfect genetic predisposition, the influence of the forerunners and planting genetic instructions to culminate in his physical evolution, his training to deal with high stress, high risk, chaotic theatres of war from an early age, his augmentations to be head and shoulders both physically and figuratively above all other humans in existence, his use of the most powerful armor system ever developed by humanity, and his neural partnership to his suit and an AI all come together to create the Master Chief we know, and yet it is a blanket statement that he's a lucky SOB is the is-all and end-all of Chief's existence. No, luck doesn't work like that. Luck is a human term given to an eventuality subcategory of events, reasoned as being a rule of averages when governed within a subset of chaos theory. This, enforced by a confirmation bias, gives the illusion of luck playing a factor. No. Just no. In writing this video, I did a really quick look up at the actual definition of luck, and it differs from the use of the word that most of us have grown accustomed to and the way in which we most regularly use it. Luck is defined as success or failure apparently brought by chance rather than one's own actions. In that conventional definition, at face value, argument could be made that Chief is lucky, that his success is a result of chance. But at closer examination, that doesn't work either. John has been trained to be the most elite of special forces since 6 years old. The most elite soldiers in the world at the moment are arguably the SAS, the SBS and the Navy SEALs. The enlistment age in the UK is 16 years old and is 17 years old in the US. This means that at the very earliest, soldiers who may eventually become these special forces start their military career at 16 to 17 years old and go through training and then active duty, though likely several different factions of the military before being capable of meeting the physical, mental and combat experience requirements of entering into boot for these special forces. By 17 years old, John 117 had already been in military training for 11 years, had been fully augmented and had 3 years to acclimate to his new physical capabilities, and had already been in active duty for 3 years. So when the equivalent soldier had just enlisted, John had already had 11 years of training and 3 years of active duty on any new recruit. This means that in total, any experience gained by even the best, most elite soldiers in modern times and the UNSC is superseded by John by at least 14 years of experience, which is in most cases longer than the military careers of most standard infantry. But that's the conventional definition. But when most people think of it, they use the term luck. It's more used as a means of outlining that other forces came into play to influence the outcome of a situation. It's looked at more so that being lucky means someone or something esoteric and intangible was looking over the events playing out and somehow affecting reality in a way that keeps that person somewhat shielded from the full raw force of the events taking place. This most definitely doesn't match up with Chief's more quote-unquote lucky moments, so let's look at some of them and see if we can actually find more logical reasons as to why Chief got through them, as opposed to this blanket luck treatment. Operation Talon was a mission conducted by the Spartans just after augmentations. They infiltrated a rebel base, moved through the city to capture and extract Colonel Robert Watts. The fact that the Spartans, led by Chief, managed to achieve this without being killed or captured themselves was pretty lucky, but was really just a result of being highly trained and exceptional intel provided by various sources that gave them the mission critical information needed to pull off the operation successfully. During the mission, the intuitive and quick improvisation of the Spartans and John enabled them to confirm the exact location of the target through the discovery of luxury items being delivered to a particular building, including Sweet William cigars, whiskey and the like. These luxury items, amongst what is otherwise a resupply order, narrowed down the location of Watts due to the known affinity of officers and Sweet William cigars. After being fitted with Mjolnir, the Covenant ship Unrelenting approached the ship the Spartans arrived in. In order to try to save the ship, the Spartans mounted an assault on the ship. When drifting towards the ship, the realization that the shields were still up would mean that the Spartans would simply bounce off suddenly dawned on Chief. Yet the Spartans managed to make it aboard. That's pretty lucky, huh? No, not luck. Logical thinking. The turrets of the ship had to fire. This implies that a small section of the ship's shields had to be dropped near the turrets so the turrets could be fired without the plasma rebounding back into the hull of the ship. Chief realised this on approach, contrary to what the animated retelling of the Fall of Reach suggests happened. John was able to get his velocity to match that of the target by the time he reached it, but when he tried to find a handhold, he came up empty due to its hull being covered by an energy shield. Around 100 metres further along the surface of the hull, however, he noticed a pulsed laser turret that the shields dropped around in order for allowing it to fire. John carefully adjusted his vector and timed his approach so that he was able to slip beneath the shield the next time it dropped around the turret. While this mission was an ultimate success, the loss of Sam 034, childhood friend, fellow trainee, member of Blue Team, and fellow Spartan, this success could be considered a Pyrrhic victory. During the Fall of Reach, Colonel James Ackerson dispatched a Skyhawk fighter to attack Spartan John 117 and the AI Cortana while the pair were on a testing run. In an effort to kill these threats to Ackerson's success, the Skyhawk launched a Scorpion missile at the Spartan, but it failed to kill him. That's pretty lucky. No, it's not. Chief was operating within Mjolnir, a powered exoskeleton with armor plates made of multi-layered titanium alloy with an undersuit of titanium nanocomposite soft armor. It was the MARK-V, meaning it also had full-body energy shields, and on top of all of that, he was operating in synchronicity with Cortana, a smart AI interfaced directly to his brain. The missile closed on John's position, and he turned to face it. He told Cortana to factor in his reaction time and the missile's velocity and tell him the exact instant to dodge the missile and deflect it with his arm. All of these factors coalesced and enabled Chief to output a significant order of magnitude higher reaction time, perception and strength than any Spartan before him. The Scorpion missile's closest modern-day counterpart is likely to be something akin to the Hellfire missile. These missiles are fired from attack aircraft much like the Scorpion, and is an air-to-surface missile designed for precision strikes against high-profile individuals and high-explosive anti-tank strikes. These parameters neatly fit a description of Chief. He is a high-profile individual and akin to a walking tank. Why do I make this comparison? Because the Scorpion missile, much like the Hellfire, is a precision strike weapon with comparable performance. Both missiles are designed to destroy the target and very little else in the area. This is important, because if Chief, using Cortana and his armour and the reaction time to full effect, could dive just clear of the missile and deflect it with an arm, even if the missile detonated, which it did, the explosion itself wouldn't kill him, because it wouldn't have been a direct hit. He'd have got a lot of concussive force and a wash of heat, but wouldn't otherwise receive the high explosive packet directly. This is proved in situ when it does detonate moments after he deflected it, throwing the half-ton armoured chief 6 metres to the floor, causing some internal damage and wiping his shields out completely, but otherwise leaving the Spartan alive and able to continue operating. Not luck, just bloody good armour technology, the help of an AI, exploiting a weakness of known munitions, and lightning-quick reflexes. At Halo, Chief primes the Autumn's reactors to go critical and explode, destroying the ship and the ring, and he commences to race through the ship on a warthog to escape the blast, and he gets there with seconds to spare. Well, that's not really luck either. In my video called The Law Scale Problem, I explain how inaccurate the actual law size of the Autumn really is. Well, in-game the Chief races along his warthog for 2 kilometers. The Autumn is only 1.17 kilometers in length, canonically speaking, so in truth he would have actually managed to get off of the ship with plenty of time. But let's go with what we see in-game. Okay, so he races 2 kilometers and he runs the last 100 meters or so, hopping inside of the longsword and flying away from the Autumn. Okay, so the Warthog's maximum speed is 125 kilometers an hour, or 78 miles per hour. So to cover a distance of 2 kilometers would have only taken him 2.08 minutes. When Chief hops into the Warthog, Cortana tells him that they have 5 minutes until the reactor detonates. So if Chief drives the Warthog run like I'm sure most of us do, he'd have 3 minutes left over after finishing the Warthog run before the ship blows up. Even if he went half that speed, if he just cruised at 60 kilometers an hour or 37 miles an hour, he'd get there in 4 minutes with a minute left to fly off. Oh, and that last 100 meters he's got to run, he ran 500 meters in 17 seconds after he was attacked with a Scorpion missile. If it is really life or death, he could have covered that distance in 3.4 seconds. And he gets aboard the longsword, fires it up and takes off in 14 seconds, so he'll still have time to put some distance between him and the Autumn. That's not luck, that's just maths. I'm sure there's actually some more scientific information I could research to find out just how fast a nuclear fusion reactor of the size of the one in the Pillar of Autumn could melt down and detonate, but I think I've made my point here clear enough. In Halo 2, he gives the Covenant back their bomb. He manages to direct the bomb exactly where it needed to go, and when he got it in position and he primed it and drifted away fast enough just to clear the ship and land on the upper hull surface of Inamberclad. Lucky son of a bitch. Well, the carrier was travelling on a set course, aiming on landing planetside, and Chief was also travelling on a set course. In space, as long as no other forces act upon an object, it moves in a very, very predictable way. Chief just had to position himself correctly as he jumped out of the Cairo station to influence the travel just the right amount to intersect the path of the carrier. Notice he takes a look first. Orbital mechanics is something he was taught as a young boy by the AI Deja. Lining up that wouldn't have been very difficult for Chief. On top of this, he had the support of long swords and a gaping hole caused by a supermech to post the bomb through while its shields were down. Cortana went with him and would have reset the timer for the bomb to go off just long enough to give Chief enough time to clear the carrier, so it wouldn't have blown up the second he reactivated it, as it is implied on Cairo Station.
How much time was left?
You don't want to know.
And Inamberclad heard his transmission to Hood, asking,
Sir, permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Permission granted.
Chief has a built-in IFF. Inamberclad would have been able to track Chief's position in space. The second that they would see that he was on the move away from the ship, they could have aligned her up to be just in the right place at the right time to pick him up. Again, things in space tend to travel very expectedly. No luck involved here, just orbital mechanics. In Halo 3, Chief falls from the Forerunner key ship. The Marines can be overheard asking how far did he fall.
This ain't good. Damn. How far did he fall?
2 kilometers, easy.
2 kilometers would allow him time to reach terminal velocity, yet he survives. He's unconscious when they find him, but he's fine. Even Cortana's monologue references his luck here, so it must be luck. Chief has survived falls from space before. Indeed, other Spartans have survived falls from space before. Noble 6 did it in an earlier iteration of Mjolnir than Chief has, but he had the M-Spec insertion pack, so maybe that's not a great conclusion to draw. Other Spartan 2s survived falling from near space in the book Fall of Reach, when Red Team's Pelican was shot out of the upper atmosphere and the Spartans bailed out. One, as I recall, even punched back first through the trunk of a tree and lived. Sure, some died, some were injured, but quite a few were fine. Well, that was also using an earlier version of Mjolnir. Chief's Mjolnir platform in Halo 3 is the MARK-VI, but it's more than that. As I said in the video titled Chief's Testbed MARK-VII, and is now literally confirmed by 343 Industries, his MARK-VI is actually a testbed platform for the MARK-VII upgrades. Link is in the description, by the way. One of the upgrades for the MARK-VII was an atmospheric insertion system. On top of this, he rode a big door to the surface that would have taken a good portion of the initial impact with the canopy and the surface, and instead, Chief would have just kind of been bounced off of the surface of the door and thrown free, which is where we find him. No luck, he had upgrades in his suit and other factors which ensured his survival. Disactivating the Halo Array at the end of Halo 3, he got there just in time to stop the activation of the Halo Array, despite going up against the Covenant, being confronted by the Flood, and allowing the Arbiter to kill Truth in the process. The reality, however, is that although Johnson was forced to start the activation process, there actually isn't any revealed timescales for how long after initial activation it takes for the Halo to fire. In fact, it's not even an absolute certainty that the button Johnson was forced to push actually is the firing button. It may have just been the equivalent of a Forerunner login page. You just needed the right biometric device, aka a human hand, likely a passive scan to confirm it was a real, living, breathing human being, to actually access the system. The holographic rings in the Citadel glowing brighter simply to indicate that access to the array had been granted. Doesn't mean it was going to automatically spiral off into full activation. There were likely dozens of steps after this that actually led to firing the rings, so getting there just in time wasn't really a factor. As for the resistance that was met, Chief didn't fight through it alone. He had elite-controlled spaceships above dealing with the spacebound engagement. He had forces on the ground, supported by the Shadow of Intent, Forward Unto Dawn, Pelicans, Phantoms, tanks, Warthogs, infantry, ODSTs, Arbiter, the elites. That wasn't luck that got him through that. It was superior battle tactics, support from an entire entourage of military personnel and materials, and the help and assistance of a monitor, a being with intimate knowledge and evident override control of many of the facilities needed to be negotiated in order to gain access to the Citadel. That's not luck. As far as going to the wreckage of High Charity to recover Cortana, he managed to fight through a flood hive all the way to Cortana right before she became rampant, recover her, and fight his way all the way back out before overloading High Charity's reactors and escaping before it blew up. On the flip side, at the very end, the Gravemind actually helps Chief escape High Charity. If I didn't know any better, the Gravemind wanted Chief to come for her, recover her, and leave with her. Although we've yet to see this plan ultimately fulfilled, being the suggested logic plague that Cortana is now suffering from, it is still highly evident that for a creature of near immeasurable knowledge and intellect, he didn't put up anywhere near as much of a fight to kill Chief or Cortana or to stop them from leaving. Indeed, he actively helped them. That's not luck. That's simply the Gravemind playing a much more significant and long-term game plan, willing to lose numerous battles in the interim if it guarantees his victory of the war in the long run. As for Cortana appearing close to rampancy during the moments in Halo 3, when Chief receives what appear to be telepathic communications between himself and Cortana, that was again another intricate game of perception by the Gravemind, as I detailed in the video Flood's Coming. Link is in the description. During the escape of Installation 00, my installation, and the firing of the ring which screwed my installation up something rotten, the Chief, Cortana and Arbiter pass through the portal and the ship is severed in half. Arbiter makes it back to Earth, but Chief is left floating through space. But only 4 years later, that ship course drifted through space just so happened to intersect the orbit of a Forerunner shield world called Requiem. Convenient, but not lucky. It is relatively well established now that the portal collapse and Chief's exit was anything but a random coincidence. It seems likely that an entity, likely aboard the Ark, influenced the portal's exit vector during the transition, intending for Chief, the Reclaimer, to travel to Requiem to awaken the Didact. But who? Well, we know Mendicant Bias was alive on the Ark at that time, as he spoke out to Chief directly and even said that he'd keep the path ahead stable and keep him safe, and that the Chief would be his example to the fact that he regretted his past actions and that he'd have his creators know that he has changed. Mendicant's creator was the Didact and Master Builder Faber, but Didact is the only one that's confirmed to be living still. Mendicant was one of the most powerful Forerunner ancillas ever created, so to say that it was within his power to influence the portal's exit vector, even in his fragmented state, is a gross understatement. So again, not luck, but Mendicant Bias wishing to reconcile his past betrayals using Chief as an example, recognizing him as a Reclaimer. As far as the Warthog run in Halo 3 is concerned, well again, I've made a video on that. Likely goes some way to explain and justify just how Chief managed to survive the ring's foundational structure falling to pieces. Again, link, as always, is in the description. Upon arrival, it's starting to feel like this is just like a huge monologue of me just trying to reference you to other ones of my videos, but I'm getting to the point. Anyway, upon arriving at Requiem, Forward Unto Dawn and the Covenant fleet get caught in the planet's gravity well and enter the planet's inner area. He survived his fall to the surface and woke up ready to fight, and hours later the UNSC Infinity, humanity's newest, most powerful ship, arrives to extract him. How lucky is that? Well, it's not. You starting to see a pattern now? Chief has survived falls from space before, as I previously discussed in this very video and the video titled Chief's Testbed MARK-VII, and it's now literally confirmed that it's a testbed for the MARK-VII upgrades. The link is in, I've already said that. While the Mark system of the suits was done for fiscal years, the Rapid Ideas innovation process meant that dozens of new technologies were fielded and tested with various versions and permutations of Mjolnir at any given time. Chief's upgrades just so happened to include upgrade prototypes for the Mark-VII. His fall from space was survivable because of one of those upgrades. But how about the Infinity arriving virtually moments later? That's pretty lucky. Well,
I'll drop a beacon, but it'll be a while before anyone finds us. Years, even.
the entire time Chief was having a nap, Cortana was broadcasting a rescue beacon, which would have propagated from the ship at the speed of light in all directions. Chief was asleep for over 4 years, so a sphere with a radius of 4 light years would now be the boundary around the ship that the signal would have reached. That's from Earth to our closest star, Proxima Centauri. UNSC-controlled space was pretty huge, and it was littered with slipspace comms beacons. It wouldn't have taken too long for that signal to reach a slipspace relay and be forwarded to UNSC comm stations at FTL speeds. With the identifier that the beacon is coming from Cortana and Spartan 117 was with her, of course the UNSC are going to triangulate the position and go looking for the single most valuable military asset the UNSC has. No luck, just asset recovery. Chief's first encounter with the Didact could have been his last. The Didact is a being so immensely powerful that had he felt so inclined, he could have crushed Chief to death right there and then. Well, luck was on Chief's side, because it's lucky that he didn't then, right? Nope. Didact at this stage didn't perceive Chief as a threat. He didn't even recognise Chief as a warrior. Didact's last encounter with humanity was that of the devolved humans he saw to inflicting due to the war between the humans and the Forerunners. The Didact looked upon Chief as a noble but simple creature. He used the term human as a derogatory term, suggesting that humans are less than they really are, and simply discards him on the assumption that this human didn't know what it was doing or why, likely just fulfilling a long-implanted gesh by his wife to awaken him when the time came, much like Born Stella, Chukas and Ryza once did for him millennia before. No luck was involved, just Didact's condescending underestimation of Chief's indomitable will. Noticed later on in Halo 4, he refers to him as warrior, recognising Chief is in fact much more of a threat to him than he initially thought. And on the bridge, he actually does attempt to kill him before he is interrupted by Cortana. Which brings me to the next point. At the end of Halo 4, Chief is confronted with the decision to detonate a Havoc nuke to save the population of Earth from Didact's composer beam. He primes the nuke, takes a last lingering look at Earth, battle cries, and he strikes the detonator. Moments later, he finds himself in a blue hard light container. Lucky, huh? No. Cortana is a particularly brilliant AI and has a comprehensive knowledge of Forerunner technology. Moreover, her final holographic form aboard Mantle's approach was made of hard light and the bridge that they stood upon. Cortana knew this, and with a processing capability close to the speed of light, Cortana waited for the instant that Chief activated the nuke, then manipulated the hard light bridge and created a container to separate Chief from the blast, creating a gap between his hand and the nuke, enforcing the hard light boundary and enclosing him entirely, and using the last of her power, combined with her understanding of Forerunner technology and the Mantle's approach, and translocated the hard light pod she'd created for Chief away from Mantle's approach, all before the nuke actually induced its fusion reaction and detonated. This isn't luck. This is the processing power of a unique smart AI coupled with its knowledge of Forerunner technology and ability to perceive reality objectively from a position of thinking at the speed of light. No luck was involved here, just an AI being brilliant and protecting someone she cared for. In all of these cases, Chief's luck can be proved to actually be as a consequence to his experience, his knowledge, his augmentations, his armour, his upgrades, external factors, help from AIs, other aspects of physics, assistance from other forces and friends. Time and time again, if challenged and looked at in a critical way, this Chief is lucky myth falls away, and we're left with one indiscriminate fact. Chief is not lucky. He's well prepared, well equipped, well assisted, and well suited to the circumstances he finds himself in. While this trait of luck gives off an air of fate or destiny and brings a poetic meaning to Chief's life and his struggles and battles and successes, really, it just massively downplays how brilliant he is at being a soldier and how brilliant all of the people, objects, and things that support him really are. I personally wouldn't be surprised if the luck myth is something thought up by Oni as propaganda campaign to imply Chief has destiny and fate on his side, and that humanity's ultimate success upon the shoulders of Chief's labours was possible because the universe willed it so. When in reality, fate, destiny, and luck have nothing to do with it. It's just a soldier and his drive to perform his duty. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons, so Tenchi, the Silent Cartographer, Brian, Sebastian, Red Sea, Darian and Neek, the holders of the mantle, Ty, Black Biscuit, J Rabbit, Austin, Kaiser, Silux, Reclaimer 216, The Revanche, Wolf Slim and Andre my Reclaimers, Zach, Deep Cover, Verbal Statue, Spesigo, Spartan A498, Guppy, Josh, Mickey, Bastion, Molchar, Slithery Tube Dude, Nightrise, Sierra G059 and Alferis, my Metarchs, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome, and all of this wouldn't be possible without you. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more of my time for me to put into this content and other Halo related goodness. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.